Hi, it's Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics, and I'm here with Lynn. You've seen her before in videos. Lynn is our Block of the Month coordinator, and she sews a lot of our sample quilts.
Yes.
The quilt behind us here is a Block of the Month quilt designed by In the Beginning Fabrics. It's batik, using the Florographics Batik 4, and these are the fabrics here. They are literally just the most beautiful batik, and they really captured my attention.
Absolutely. Mine as well.
You know, we've always done Block of the Month with cotton fabric up until now.
Yes.
And I said, when I saw this Block of the Month, I said, we have to do it, Lynn. Yep. And just look at the intricacy of the pieces. You can imagine cutting it out by hand is a very time-intensive process. And because we have lasers here, it made sense for us to offer this as a batik. Block of the Month laser cut.
And this is the only way I would do this Block of the Month.
Yeah.
There's no other way. The laser cut is the way to go. These are beautiful. I've always loved batiks, but sometimes never knew what to do with them. So when I saw this, I was just mesmerized. And then when I got to make it, that was even better.
Yes.
So what we're going to do today, I learned some tips and tricks along the way making this sample quilt that I want to share with you and talk about some of the things that will be coming in your Block of the Month. So to start with, the first thing that's going to come monthly for you is you're going to get a full color picture. So you get your picture, and on the back you're going to get piecing instructions. You will have a full-size diagram for placement, and we're going to go over different ways to place in a little bit as well. You'll get your sashing strips. There are 2 different colored gray sashing strips.
That's right.
So yep, you will get the appropriate one for each month in that block, and you'll get your background piece. So your background piece is always the same. Along with that, you get your laser cut pieces. This is the best part.
Yeah.
For sure.
The time savings is huge.
It's amazing. Hours and hours and hours of work for you is taken care of in this little bag right here. A few things that you're going to get if you reserved at the time of purchasing. We had some add-ons for you, and if you reserved it, these will be charged with Block 1 and sent with Block 1. And the first thing is the backing. If you purchase the backing, we'll get that shipped to you in one of the first blocks.
Right.
So it may not be in the first one, but will come very closely after that. The other thing that is invaluable is the Oops Kit. The Oops Kit is a fat eighth of all 23 fabrics we used in this quilt, and you can see them sitting here right here. You will also get a piece of fusible along with this. Your Oops Kit is invaluable for a couple of reasons. One, if you make a mistake on your sashing strips, and I did forget to say, in your first block you will get all your sashing strips.
For the whole thing?
For the whole thing. So when you get this, it's going to come in a group like this. Put this somewhere safe because you will use it every single month to cut your sashing. But if there is a mistake, you have this to back you up. If there's a lost laser piece, you have this to back you up. You can make your own. It doesn't slow you down. It's so much less stressful for you, and you can just keep working on your project and saying, instead of saying, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to fix this? So the Oops Kit is a wonderful thing. Plus, with the fabrics left over, make a companion pillow. Make another project that is complementary. These are beautiful batiks. You won't have any problems using those.
That's true.
The other thing that we had for reserve is the thread set. We had used monopoly clear for the top. We used the bottom line for the bobbin and a gray cotton thread for all your piecing. It works beautifully with all the colors because there's such a plethora of colors.
It's amazing how you can't really see any that's even stitched down.
Absolutely.
But it is.
It disappears, and it's just beautiful. It makes it easy as well. And then the other item that we had for reserve was the soft and sheer stabilizer. And this is used on the back of your completed block, and it gives, batiks are a little bit thin, so it's going to give you the added stability while stitching down your laser shapes. And so it will give you a better finished product.
Gotcha.
And that's important too.
And that stays in the block, right? This isn't a wash away
No,
thing.
it isn't. That stays on the block.
Right.
So once
and
it's in,
lightweight.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it's very light. It's very pliable.
It's just this very light, and you can see through it.
Yep, absolutely. And ours is still in the quilt. It was quilted with it in there, so you're not going to notice anything. It just gives it more
body too.
Absolutely.
So it
makes a big difference. So those are your items. If you purchase those on reserve, again, they'll be charged with Block 1 and shipped with Block 1. If you did not purchase those, then you will not receive those portions. But your monthly blocks, that's the things that you'll get in the beginning.
And they can always add that.
You can add it, yeah, absolutely. Just contact us. We're always happy to help you. Or if you're wondering if you did put it as an add-on, let us know. We'll be happy to give you that information. So the first thing I want to give you a couple of tips and tricks on placing. We're going to show you 3 different ways of placing your laser shapes because that's really key to this, to make this as beautiful and as elegant as it is. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the laser shapes because this was when I first got my first block. I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little overwhelmed. There are a lot of little pieces in this. So I'm going to give you a couple of ideas that hopefully you will follow. It will make it much easier for you. And the first thing, when you get your laser shapes, when I do any project with laser shapes, I have a contained area. I always work in a tray, always work in a tray. So I'm going to set my laser pieces in here, and you can see that these pieces on this are all in there. Some of them, and they come out very easily. So you're going to take your laser pieces apart. I do not throw this away until I have every piece accounted for. I can't tell you how many times I went back and found, here's an interesting piece. It has a little tiny center for one of the blocks right there. So if you throw that away, you're 9 times out of 10 never going to find it in your trash can. So I keep everything in my tray until everything is accounted for.
Yeah.
And so you're going to take all of these out. You're just going to take the peel off the backing, and you're going to go into your placement. And that's where we're going to go right now. The first thing I'm going to show you is, the other thing I want to say is the tweezers will be a good friend of yours.
Yes.
Really helps with the little
Small
placements,
pieces.
the small pieces. So we'll use that as we go along. So we are going to start with 3 different ways of placing. Just like that. And the first one is you will want to work on a ironing board or have a pressing pad right next to you. When you're doing the first way, you will, or I should say, when you get them all, you're going to be piecing like this. And that's what we're saying about your sashing strips here. That's when you get the full pack.
They're so pretty.
They're so pretty, and you'll just piece them according to the directions for that particular block. You want to make sure your block orientation is correct before you start placing pieces the first way.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because they're turned.
They are turned. It does make a difference which way they're facing. So the first way.
She made this quilt.
I did.
I'm learning here as we go.
So the first way you can do this is I take the diagram, and actually as I'm taking the backing pieces off, I am just putting them onto the diagram, and I'm going to count for all my pieces. So what you're doing is you're really just placing by eyesight, if that's what you want to do. You're going to look at this diagram. You're going to say, okay, we have this marking line here. I believe this is going to start right at the top, and it's going to start probably right about here. And you're going to take your pieces, and you are just going to place by eye. Now, this takes some time, takes some maneuvering, but if you feel like you want to have that artistic quality about it and make sure that you kind of have the ability to move things around with you a little bit.
Change it up.
Change it up. Remember, this is yours. Make it unique. So once you do that, you're going to get them all placed, and once it's pleasing to your eye, you're going to iron down the pieces using medium heat with your iron, and then you're ready to stitch around the edge. So that is the first method of placing pieces, and again, it's just by eyesight.
I think the most challenging way is what you just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I like guidance.
Yes.
I want to know where it goes.
Yes.
Precisely.
Definitely
That's the pilot in me.
That is. That is the most time consuming there. So the next way we're going to do it is we're going to set this right here. So we'll move that, we'll keep that right there,
Yep.
and then that can go over there.
Okay.
The next way we're going to go is with this great little tracing kit that we have, and we are selling this online. If you'd like to go with that, we will. Inside it has 3 pieces of tracing paper. There's a blue, a yellow, and a white, and all I did was tape these 3 pieces together.
Oh,
and so it's really easy.
Because it doesn't really matter the color.
It doesn't matter the color.
Want placement.
Exactly, because all you're doing is bringing it in. And you can see what I did is I put the tracing paper. It's your background piece. The tracing paper comes down, and the diagram goes right on top. You are lining up your diagram exactly where you need it to be, and there's these great little guidelines here on your diagram, and you're just going to put that right into the corner of your piece. Once you know where it is, you're just going to pin them in place so they're not going to move, and then you are going to trace around all of the shapes. You are going to use a pen, a blunt, any blunt object. You are not going to use your pen point. Don't put your pen on. just use this. And all you're gonna do is go around and you are going to trace every single shape.
Wow.
So you're gonna have to just kind of know where you are and remember what you did. Once you're traced, you're gonna take this off and set that aside. Your tracing paper can be used repeatedly.
Oh.
And what you have is your, it's everything on there. So it doesn't matter the colors that you're using, you just know where your placement's gonna go now. So in the same respect where we did it before, where we were kind of doing an eye placement, you are now going to come along and you know that the little tulip goes there. You know that your stem goes there, and so on and so forth. And then you've got your centerpiece in here, and you're gonna just build your block again. Once you, and again, working on an ironing board or the pressing mat, once you have that, you're gonna iron it down and stitch around the edges is where you're at. You'll add that fusible. Once you are stitched around the edges, if your chalk lines are showing, you just take a damp cloth and wipe it off, and they go away. So that's your second way. Takes a little, it's
time consuming.
Little time consuming because you have to trace around everything.
Right.
So that is the second way. And the next way, and the fastest way, hands down, is using a light box. Light boxes can be used for so many things.
Oh, I use them all the time.
I use them all the time. It's amazing.
Tracing, alignment.
Yep. So what you're going to do with your light box, turn it on, and you're going to go to the highest setting on that. And what you're going to do is put your diagram down, you put your background down, and then as soon as you know where your placement is, again, using these great guides on here, you pin it in place. Once you have that pinned in place, you can see where all your shapes go. So once again, you're starting right here.
Yeah,
and
easily.
It's real easy. There's your tulip.
That's the thing that's amazing is even though this is a black, considered a black,
Yes.
because batik is thinner in nature, the light is coming through. I can see this, and I know this is not
Absolutely.
turned all the way up.
It's yeah, exactly. So that's not even all the way.
Let's turn it all the way up, and let's see what it'll do. Wow.
Yeah. So you can see directly through there, no problem whatsoever at all. You are going to get all your pieces placed just like before. And then if you're working on an ironing board, you are just going to gently take this and put it over onto your ironing board and iron it down. Or you use a pressing mat, and all you're gonna do is gently move it, just like that. The pieces are not gonna move. Make it pleasing to your eye again, and then iron it down.
Boy, that's the
medium
fastest.
heat. It's absolutely the fastest.
Just make sure you're not tempted to iron on here. I actually have to admit that I did that once, and you got this bubble. But what's amazing is it actually kind of subsided, but that was a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to just have your pressing mat nearby.
Yeah, on this one you're just using your diagram, that on top, and when you move it over gently, just, your pieces, they tend to stick. There's something about a batik, it has a little bit more, stickiness to it, so I didn't have any trouble moving it over and then pressing it down. So those are your three options for placement. And this, I'm using a medium light box. It does fit on a smaller of the wafer light boxes. Yeah. It just has a little bit of an overhang. On this one, it fits just perfectly. You can see your entire background.
And this is the wafer 2, I
This
believe.
is the wafer 2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once you are finished with that, you have them all ironed down, you're going to be going to stitching around the edges. We used, the monopoly clear, we used the bottom line, and we also used a thread director on our machine, and this helps keep the monopoly clear from getting tangled up when it's coming through. We used a straight stitch all the way through, so you don't have to do anything fancy. I highly suggest you practice your stitch length before you start on your project. Because these are small pieces, you're going to take them down a little bit. We're going to show you a close-up of this quilt and one of the blocks so you can see our stitching. For something like this very small stem, we just went right down the middle. You're not going to get on either side of that, and don't even try because you're going to make yourself crazy.
Right.
So just a small stitch length all the way around, and the monopoly clear just kind of blends, and you can see it's such a beautiful effect that all you see are the laser shapes. The batik.
So the cotton is for the piecing that's
Correct.
happening here.
Correct.
We'll strictly be using the monopoly and the top. The thread director helps it come off naturally, not get stuck on the spool
Yes,
pin.
and you will have your fusible behind it. And again, once you're done with that, you'll take this off. All you're going to do is put your fusible down, and you're just going to take your piece, and you're just going to pin it in place, just like that.
Right.
And you're good to go. And then it stays on.
Fantastic.
You don't even have to take it off from there. And if you look closely here, you will see the details that our quilter added to this. You can see in the leaves that she added the little veins, and then some of the smaller areas, she went over them again just to give them a little more reinforcement. So feel free to know that not just your stitching down to the shapes, you can complement that with the quilting that goes on top as well. So those are my tips and tricks. One thing, watch where your arm is.
Oh, really?
There was more than one time, even with your guide, if you hit it, it will go. I'm speaking from experience there. So just kind of watch where you are with your placement. Use a tray for your laser shapes. When I went through, I made sure that all the laser shapes were accounted for in placing these. And so I know they're in the files because I found a couple that weren't, and I made sure they got in there for you. If you have any questions about your program, if you'd like to add anything, we are always happy to help. So just give us a contact, give us a call, email, block of the month at shabbyfabrics.com. And thank you so much for joining us for this block of the month. I know you are going to enjoy it so much. And when your finished product comes out, it's going to just be one of those quilts that you will treasure for many years. So thank you again, and enjoy your block of the month.